Okay, fungal diversity. We're going to introduce the fungi, a big kingdom of organisms, talk about their basic characteristics, explain their ecology, and explain their importance. First of all, fungi are eukaryotes. There are about 100,000 species of named fungi. There's probably millions more. They're heterotrophic, which means they don't have chlorophyll, they don't have chloroplast. They have to get their energy from preformed food, but they have kind of a unique way of doing it. These cells release digestive enzymes, really powerful digestive enzymes, and then they absorb the resulting broken down molecules. Fungal cells have a cell wall of chitin. Okay, some of them have flagella. Most of them decomposers. They're saprobes. Some of them are they're parasitic. They cause plant or animal disease. But many of them have mutualistic relationships with plants or animals. Some fungi become extremely large. They can reproduce really well by asexual reproduction. Fungi share a common ancestor with animals. We know this because of some of their characteristics and the genetic information. Okay, so fungal cells, the body of a fungal cell consists of a network of what are called hypha, and these are thread-like cells, filamentous-like cells, that are usually have septa between the cells and then more rigid walls on the outside. Sometimes these cells kind of form a mass where there's no septa, and so they'll appear to be these large multinucleate cells. Hypha grow from the tip, so they have this filamentous growth, which is very good in soil and dry environments. Because they're filamentous, they have this large surface area. They store food in a way similar to animals do as glycogens. And so there's a nice picture there of hypha with septa and without. Okay, fungal cells, just like plant and animal cells, can do asexual or sexual reproduction. In most fungi, we find both sexual and asexual reproduction. In both cases, the dispersing stage are usually very small airborne spores. The sexual reproduction usually involves haploid hypha that will fuse together in this thing called plasmogamy, and then they will have this two-celled stage where the nuclei fuse during karyogamy to have a zygote. That zygote usually almost immediately undergoes meiosis to produce haploid spores. Those spores disperse, will germinate, and produce a long-lived mycelium. During sexual reproduction, so these hyphae from two different mating types fuse. They produce that dikaryotic thing. The nuclei fuse, and then the spores disseminate. And so you see pictures with fungi, there's lots of spores. Asexual spores, sexual spores, spore capsules, sporangia. I'm not so interested in that you know all these structures, but that know what a spore is. They can be haploid or diploid, and that this is the most common way that we run into fungi. Fungi, though, growing in liquids can remain unicellular, and then we usually see oval or circular cells, which we refer to as yeast, and usually those will reproduce asexually by budding. Your book goes through the major groups of fungi. I don't care if you know the Zygomyces or the Basidiomycetes and stuff like that. I just want to give you an example here. A common bread mold, this Zygomycetes. Okay, here the bread has and bread is kind of dry. It's dry enough that it's usually not attacked by bacteria. It's usually attacked by fungi. And what happens is the fungi form a mat of filamentous hyphae that invade the bread and start digesting it. By the time you see mold on the surface, what you're seeing are the fruiting bodies. So we've gone through sexual reproduction, and we see these sporangia or spore capsules grow on this stalk. Okay, and so by the time you see the mold, what you're seeing are the fruiting bodies. Okay, and so that's it right there. Okay, so I'm not going to say too much about fungal, fungal groups. There's a lot of fungal groups. Mushrooms and lots of visible structures you see are the fruiting bodies, the sexual reproducing, dispersing stages that are getting the spores above ground or away from the substrate so that the spores can spread in air. What we need to know about fungi is that the most fungi are using these secreted enzymes to break down organic molecules. And fungi can digest things that no other organism can. They can digest cellulose and lignins in wood. No other organisms are really capable of doing that unless it's in water. They're capable of doing other digestive tricks. They work in aerobic and anaerobic environments, and they participate in really important mutualistic relationships. So they form partnerships with other organisms. Okay, a good example of this is lichens. Lichens are a symbiotic relationship with a fungi and green algae or cyanobacteria, where the cyanobacteria lives inside the fungi, and the fungi secretes powerful enzymes that maybe break down tree bark or stone or some sort of resistant structure. So the fungi provides protection for the cyanobacteria or the algae, and that provides food. And then the fungi gradually digests the material underneath them and is then going to transfer those nutrients to the fungi and back and forth. Okay, another really important microbial relationship is the relationship that fungi form with plant roots. These are called mycorrhizae, and this occurs between soil fungi and the roots of most familiar plants, particularly angiosperms and the gymnosperms. These things surround or sometimes even grow into the root surface, and they help the root absorb water and nutrients. And so this ecto and endomycorrhizae refers to whether it's actually growing into the root itself. Okay, we've done lots of studies, and they show that mycorrhizae increase the ability of plants to survive. They increase plant growth rates. They allow plants to get more water and nutrients under the same conditions. The earliest fossil plants we have mycorrhizae associated with their roots. And so this is some of the earliest examples we have of plants and of fungi. Okay, so that's kind of important things, that fungi are important decomposers, and they form these important partnerships. For people, the importance of fungi to us happens in a variety of ways. And some of these are negative ways. Fungi are really important causes of plant diseases. Even more than that, they cause animal or human diseases. Fungi cause plant diseases. Lots of food plants are attacked by what are called rusts and smuts or molds, and these can attack growing plants and are sometimes the most important causes of disease. Fungi also attack spoiled food, so they are one of the major causes of food spoilage. Then there are something called mycoses. These are fungal infections of animals and humans. There's not a huge number of these, and they're not of the highest importance, but they're not uncommon. In our area, histoplasmosis is a potential human pathogen. Okay, in this case, spores of a fungi that reproduce in animal feces, particularly bat feces that may wind up in humid areas like the Mississippi Valley, and in the summer, these fungal structures will produce airborne spores that people can breathe in. Most people won't get this, but it is a problem. And you can see the map there that shows the lower Mississippi Valley and Ohio River Valley are where this is most common in the United States. Histoplasmosis, like most fungal infections, is difficult to treat. Okay, there's lots of other ones as well. There, ringworm you may have heard of. It's not caused by a worm. It's a fungal infection that often produces ring-shaped lesions in the skin. There you can see what's this trichophyton that causes mycoses of the scalp, and there you see a histoplasmosis on an X-ray of the lungs. Okay, I don't want to end though by saying fungi are all bad. Fungi have really huge importance for people. Okay, they are decomposers and they produce good soil. They get rid of things we don't want. They are also important in this symbiosis for plants. Even more, fungi provide direct food. Morels, truffles, shiitake mushrooms, they're often considered delicacies. Uh, Fungi are important in doing fermentations. Bread, beer, wine, cheeses, many of these are made through the action of fungi. Fungi are also important in technology, biotech, producing compounds that can then be produced or used by people in things that way. Among the most important organisms people ever deal with is Saccharomyces cerevisiae, common yeast, brewer's yeast. Um, we use this to make grains more edible by baking bread. We produce beer or wine, thereby improving the nutrient quality of grapes and beverages based on grains, and increasing their shelf life and increasing their value. We use yeast for lots of things that are very, very important.